One day, everything is going well, maybe even as planned, and then out of nowhere, the whole structure collapses. Maybe you get a call from the doctor that leaves you numb, the breakup that literally blindsides you, the job that you thought was safe suddenly vanishes. And sometimes it's a bit quieter. You wake up, you look around and realize the problem isn't that your life is bad, it's that it feels disconnected from who you are now. And when that realization hits, it doesn't just feel uncomfortable, it feels like there's no longer ground beneath you. And your body knows before your mind can actually catch up. Maybe you feel it in your chest, and the tightness that steals your sleep at night. Even the smallest decisions feel heavier than they should. And what do most of us do? We scramble, we hold tighter, we try to convince ourselves nothing's wrong, even when everything in us knows it is. And it feels like an end. And in many ways, it actually is. Because the version of you that built this life can't take you any further. But stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see how what looks like destruction can actually be the beginning of renewal, and how to move through it without getting stuck. Welcome. I'm Francis, therapist and coach, and here's what I've noticed. People don't stay stuck because they don't care. They stay stuck because the moment they try to change, something gets in the way, whether it's overthinking, procrastination. Sometimes it's that little voice that says, not yet. These are the patterns that quietly hold you back right when you're ready to step forward. On this channel, we unpack that resistance so you can finally get unstuck and start creating a life that you actually love, not just the one that you settled for. And by the way, if you're new here, make sure you join my monthly newsletter, Thrive. I go deeper on many of these topics. Sign up, it's free, and be a part of the community. So let's get into it, this 3-part mini-series. So here's where most of us get stuck. When everything starts to crumble, we resist. We actually cling to what's familiar, even if it's already breaking in our hands. We hold on so tightly that it actually creates the opposite effect of what we're looking for. We argue with the pain, we bargain with it, we try to glue the old version of our lives back together again. And many of us can spend a very long time in this state, years even. And you've met these people. They're living at a point in their lives where the pain first happened because they've either time traveled and relived those days without ever really recovering, or they hold on hoping a part of it will change, even though it's shown them again and again that it won't, at least not for now. I know this because I did it myself. I would get into situations that I desperately wanted to be different, whether it's relationships, jobs, but no matter how much I hoped, they always showed me the same red flags. And instead of walking away, I'd stay. I'd convince myself it might change, that maybe this time would be different. It's like when you drop glass on the floor. The moment it shatters, it's gone, right? To a zillion pieces. But what do we usually do? We kneel down, cut our hands, and we try to piece it back together again, hoping we can make it look like the way it did before. So you see, the real suffering isn't that it broke. It's the fight to undo what's already happened. Isn't this what we all do? The real pain isn't always in the loss itself. It's in the resistance. It's that struggle to make life go back to how it was, when deep down, we already know that it can't. By the way, if you're new here, I created a free mini course and a free short quiz called What's Your Resistance Style? Both are linked below if you want to explore while you're watching this series. All right, so when life falls apart, everyone's got advice. Some of it feels comforting for a moment, but it doesn't actually move you forward. That's why you end up right back where you started again. And the first one I often hear is willpower. You've heard it. Just let go, move on. Here's the problem. You can't force yourself to be over something that you're still entangled in. You try to push through, but the old story just kind of keeps pulling you back. And that's why you wake up maybe at 2 a.m. replaying it, even though you swore that you were done with it. And the second one that I hear often is positivity. And I'm all for positivity, right? But sometimes they say, like, look on the bright side. There's a silver lining in this thing. Everything happens for a reason. Just be grateful. And sure, some of this advice gives us a quick hit of relief, but it doesn't touch the real grief or anger underneath. Instead, you just end up pretending you're okay while carrying the weight in silence. And eventually, it leaks back out in ways you don't want. And that's why these approaches, they just don't last, because they skip over what's really happening inside you. And until you face that, you can't actually move forward in a way that sticks. And so that's the trap. And if you've ever wondered why you can't seem to break out of it no matter how much work you've done, this is where it finally starts to make sense. Nature shows us this all the time. Forests burn so new growth can emerge. Snakes shed their skin before they outgrow it. So when your life starts breaking down, it isn't punishment. It's really the same universal law. What's falling apart is revealing the next chapter that the old version of you simply can't carry forward. One of my clients would always say she felt like a target when things went wrong in her life, as if life had just singled her out. But it wasn't an attack, it was just a transition. And here's where it gets really personal. Your nervous system knows before your mind does. And so that restlessness, maybe your skin crawling feeling, you feel a bit uncomfortable in your own skin, that's the signal that the old container, it's just too small. And so the job, the relationship, the identity you once loved can't hold who you're becoming. But resistance, it shows up right here. So instead of listening, we scramble to rebuild the old life exactly as it was. And that's why chaos drags on. And so the real question isn't, why is this happening to me? It's, what part of me is life asking me to finally outgrow? And if you sit with that, everything starts to look differently. And I used to ask that question. I remember one day sitting on the floor with my head buried between my knees, sobbing. And I just couldn't see a way out. And all I felt was pain, confusion, anger. And it took me years to realize those kinds of questions kept me locked in powerlessness, as if my only option was to wait for something outside of me to come and save me. And yes, some things are really beyond our control. What we do have is a choice to move from passive bystander into active self-leadership. Spending those years in survival taught me something. Even when you feel like you've lost everything, there's a deeper self that doesn't disappear. It's always been there, waiting for us to finally notice it. And so when we shift into that awareness, we unlock renewal in ways that we never thought possible. And so what kept me going was this conviction that life doesn't just bring us here just to throw us away. There's way too much proof all around us. Rivers carve new paths when the land shifts. And so what looks like destruction is often a demand for expansion. So when everything breaks apart, again, it's not life punishing you. It's life pushing you toward who you're not meant to become. And maybe you're thinking, what if I really am powerless here? What if no matter what I do, nothing changes? That's valid. I've definitely experienced those moments of powerlessness in my own life. And that's one of the hardest thoughts to actually sit with and tune into, because when life unravels, it convinces you that you've lost all say in how the story unfolds. And I have a whole 5-part series where I get into what happens when you start to feel lost. And so another thing that you might be experiencing, or you might be saying to yourself, is, what if all this pain is for nothing? What if I'm just suffering and it doesn't actually lead anywhere? That's also valid, because struggle without meaning doesn't just feel heavy, it actually feels unbearable. And these are the two questions that keep people stuck, I believe, the longest. But they only tell half the story. The part you haven't heard yet is what shifts how you see all of it and gives you back the power that you thought you lost. And as you continue through this mini-series, all of this will come full circle. The part you haven't heard yet is what puts this chaos into context and reveals why things have to fall apart before they can actually come back together in a very different way, in a more connected way. So don't forget to grab the free mini course and the short quiz called What's Your Resistance Style. Again, they're both linked in the description below. While you're watching this series, I believe it's going to be very helpful for you in this process to help you get unstuck. And in the next video, we'll open that up. And once you see it, you'll never look at these moments of unraveling the same way again. Because one truth about life is that it's always shedding. Always shedding. And so the real work is learning how to move and do that dance with that shedding instead of fighting it. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me to grow and spread this message to as many people as possible, and share this video with somebody you think needs to hear this message as well. Tune in next week again for the second part of this mini series, and I will see you on the other side of change.